Hello everyone, this is Samantha Silver Angel 7, and today I'll be interviewing Alex Yousefi, who I actually interviewed a year ago, right after they got their liver transplant. So our mutual friend Cecilia brought up a good point that it's been about a year since they've had their surgery, and so I just want to ask a few questions about how that's been going. Hello, Alex. Thank you for doing another interview. Could you just tell us again who you are, where you're from, and my first question to you will be, can you explain in detail what was wrong with your liver, what effects it caused, and how long you were sick?
Hey Sam, thanks for the follow-up interview. For those of you that don't know my story or haven't been following, last year I had a liver transplant, and right around maybe 2 months after my transplant, I had an interview with Sam. And then fast forward, and Sam was kind enough to want to do a follow-up interview. So, um, if you didn't know, I'm Alex. I'm from the Cleveland area, and last year I had a transplant because I had a condition called PSC, or primary sclerosing cholangitis, which is a disease of the bile duct, meaning I wasn't able to release toxins in my body, and they were just building up over time, and I was causing me to get really sick. That went on about, I would say, 5 years before it got to the point where I needed a transplant. Um, that was probably the roughest part of my life, those first few months, maybe 3 or 4 months after my transplant. But I've definitely come a long way since.
What were your thoughts a week after, once it set in that you had had the surgery done? Like, what were your thoughts once you realized you weren't going to be sick anymore? What were your thoughts once you realized this has really happened?
Oh man, all that was going on in my head for probably the first month or two. I just did not think that I was going to heal. I didn't think I was going to get better. It was pretty hopeless, to be honest with you. It was a really, really rough few months.
What were the rough parts of your recovery? Were there times when you felt that the pain just wasn't worth it? And what did you tell yourself, or what did you do to overcome that really hard part?
I guess the hardest part was how dependent I was as far as the doctors and the nurses. There was a point where I couldn't even really move on my own. I was reliant on everybody else to either pick me up, or even something as simple as using the bathroom by myself. I wasn't able to do. Um, it's just not a fun feeling when you're pretty much in somebody else's care at all times, and there's not much you can do for yourself.
How long until the pain of the transplant started to go away? And when did you start to feel a real difference?
The pain lasted maybe 4 or 5 months, and then it was pretty much gone at that point. Um, I had some lingering fatigue that stuck around. A year later, I still experienced that a bit, but aside from that, everything's fine. I've gained some weight. I've gained about 28 pounds since my transplant, which is crazy. Um, but I'm doing great.
And of course, this has been my favorite part because in your last interview, I asked you, do you plan on having a girlfriend in the future? Do you plan on, maybe starting a family and stuff? So I really love this question. What's it been like to have a girlfriend by your side during this major healing process? Can you tell us a little bit about her and a little bit about what that's been like to have her by your side?
Yes, she is actually pretty amazing. Shout out to Trisha. Um, so, ironic as it is, she's a nurse as well. She's an ER nurse. Um, I was in a pretty rough spot right after my transplant mentally. I just didn't know if I was going to ever heal. I didn't know where to go from here. I didn't know what life had in store for me. I thought I was just going to be this way forever. I was just out one day, just doing my thing, and I got a text from an old friend from high school that wanted me to basically meet her friend who she thought that we would hit it off pretty well. So fast forward a little bit, and we're talking, and we just ended up hitting it off, and we get along really great. She's really supportive, and she's really helped the process along. I couldn't ask for anybody else, honestly. She's great.
Now that it's been a year, what overall differences have you noticed?
So I guess the main things that have changed a year later, you can't really tell, but I've gained a lot more weight, almost 30 pounds, surprisingly. Um, my face is a little bit more filled in. I'm happier. I don't have the same mindset that I had. So things like that make a big difference in the long run, just through the healing process. I think I'm headed in the right direction, and I like where things are at right now.
Are there any activities that you've got to do now that you're not sick anymore that you weren't able to do while you were?
I guess one of the big things that have changed since my transplant would be my diet restrictions. I had a full list of things I couldn't eat or couldn't do when I had my surgery, but for the most part, those have been cut back. I don't have to be as cautious about things I eat. I don't have to watch as closely. So that's definitely a big thing since the past year.
Do you have any advice for anyone who's possibly looking at a liver transplant, or maybe they're sick and they're not sure if they can get one? Do you have any words of advice or encouragement for anybody who's looking to get this major surgery done and just looking to overcome this in their life?
So if you're sick and you're waiting for a transplant, whether it's a liver or another organ, um, I guess my advice would be just be patient. Just be patient that your day will come. Um, like I said, I was sick for 5 years. I was on the waiting list for 3 years. I had two dry runs. What a dry run is when they call you to the hospital because they have a match for you as far as an organ, but it doesn't end up working out for whatever reason, whether it's an incompatibility with your body, the organ's damaged too much, it's too big, too small, or they just don't think it's going to be a good fit for you. They could basically just say that they're not going to be able to do it, and then you have to come back another time or just keep waiting for your turn. So patience is key, but also I highly recommend maybe asking around, see if anybody would be kind enough to do a gesture as nice as donating an organ. Um, in the situation that I had with my liver, my sister was my donor. What they do is they just take a little piece of the liver from the donor and then give it to me while they remove my liver, and then it just regrows in me, and then their liver regenerates as well. Your liver is the only organ in your body that has the capability of regenerating, which is kind of cool. So patience, and then considering asking around maybe a forum somewhere or word of mouth, see if anybody at all is willing to donate. That'll save a lot of time, a lot of stress, and um, it could save your life.
Their life. Here are some fan questions. What was the worst and hardest part of this journey? And what was the best part? And that's from Cecilia.
So, the best thing that happened out of this was um, the amount of support I had, the messages, the texts, the calls. When I had that surgery, a lot of people came out of the woodwork that I didn't even know cared about me like that. So I got a lot of nice messages, and I felt loved when I was having my surgery. So that's always good going into a major operation like that. Um, I would say the hardest thing was probably the toll that it takes on your mind or takes on your brain. It's a lot of worrying, a lot of anxiety, depression. You don't know what your future holds. So it can be overwhelming, but it's just something that you have to get through if you want to see brighter days.
And Alex, once again, thank you so much for doing this second interview, this 1 year update interview. And I'm so glad that you made it to the other side and that you're doing so well and that your surgery was successful. And we're also thankful that you're still here and we all wish you the best. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sam. It's a pleasure as always.